गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. Good evening, everyone. Wiki Karnataka HR Council extends a warm welcome to their yet another live session on this Thursday evening. Welcome you all.
Wiki Karnataka Human Resource Council is a part of Wiki, a national business chamber whose endeavor is to boost and build women's entrepreneurship and businesses to greater engagement and government institutions, global trade and networks. It is present in about 120 countries with a collective strength of about 250,000 members. Wiki Karnataka Human Resource Council is an ambitious initiative headed by Shikhar Gupta and Rani Srinivas, who is my co-host, with a team of accomplished women from diverse organizations and various walks of life to create a platform where women strive to make a difference. It touches upon pertinent topics, current events, sensitive issues, and much more. Good evening, guests, and this is Kala Sadasivam here along with Rani Srinivas.
Welcome again. And just to give you a little brief introduction about the show, Wiki Karnataka hosts n number of events and activities in sync with the global calendar. And in context to the Teachers' Day is where we are here today with our distinguished guests from various backgrounds. A warm welcome to all of you who have joined the session. Let's start the session, Kala.
Surely, surely. So I have great pleasure in introducing our first guest, Ramya Rajendran. She is a new age educationalist. She is the founder of Spring Day School and a, and the social emotional skill curriculum company called Fountainhead Leaders. She is an EdTech and SEL consultant with a long tenure in the education management industry. She loves to create holistic and joyful learning experiences for school children. Prior to being an educationist, she spent 11 years in software product research and development. Welcome, Ramya.
Thank you so much, Kala. Thank you, Rani. Thank you for having me.
Most welcome. Moving on to our next guest for the day, Ms. Shabnam Baumik. Shabnam, principal of Kodar International School. She is an accomplished school administrator for the past 5 years. And in the role of this administration, she has been involved in operations and planning of the school activities. She also has been a teacher imparting lectures in global perspective, English language, and literature to IGCSE and A level students. Prior to being an educationist, she was a journalist. A very warm welcome to you, Shabnam.
Thank you, Rani. Thank you, Kala.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having me.
Same here. And now, the third guest for today is Aruna Umesh Babu. She started her career as an economics lecturer in India and then moved to Australia and started her academic career at different universities. While teaching in India, she started exploring ideas of getting graduates employed and hence started the vocational employment division cell in Jyotinivas College, which is still functional. Her passion for social work led her to work for an NGO along with her teaching career. Recently, she has kindled her passion for classical music and plays the veena and is learning classical music too. Welcome, Aruna, all the way from Australia.
Thank you so much, Kala and Rani. It's a pleasure being here with distinguished guests.
It's been really, a kind of very happy moment for us to host such distinguished guests from teaching fraternity or the educational background. And all the more for Kala and myself because we were lecturers, who have served the institution for over a decade and moved to the corporate. It's been our pleasure to start with you guys. And my first question or interaction, let's begin with Miss Ramya.
Yeah, Rani.
Ramya would like to know what influenced you in choosing teaching or education as a full time profession. I do understand that you are from the managerial front or the management side, but would like to share some insights. All the
Sure.
more because we had a pandemic session. I mean, pandemic with this. How do you look at teaching
Yeah.
as a
So
profession?
there has been multiple influences, but one thing that really stands out to me in my mind every day almost is children, the faces of children, that innocence, that smile, their voices, even for online, right? Looking at their that little windows and the way they speak, the voices, all of that. So I feel that the children keep teachers at a very special place in their hearts where nobody else is allowed, like when parents, grandparents are not allowed. And whatever you give to them, they give it back multifold, with a lot of respect, with a lot of love, etc. So, being in the education field, I feel it's a wonderful opportunity to make the biggest impact on the littlest of human beings. So that is a great opportunity, and it's a very fulfilling thing. It literally, for me, I feel it gives back more than what I give to. So yes, that's what it is for me.
Now we move to Shabnam. Your insights, please.
I was like 20 years back, if someone asked me what I want to be, teaching would definitely not be on my list, right? So I came to teaching just because I was not able to go back to journalism, and because my son was born and he was very small, and the timing was not adjusting. The night shifts were not going well with both of us. I came to teaching thinking that it will be a brief stint and I'll go back to journalism. Who stays in teaching? So that is how. But when I took over as class two mother teacher, I instantly fell in love with the kids, and I agree to. I understand what Ramya just said. You know that this is where you belong. This is your calling. Once you are in a school and you know that you can, make differences in the lives of these kids, and they look up to you. And there were, I mean, in every teacher's life, there would be moments, innumerable moments, where the parents would say that you please tell the child because they don't listen to us. If the teacher is saying she's right, she's got to be right. That prompted me, that it made me feel like this is my calling and I have to stay here. So, and I don't regret that decision.
Nice to know that. Over to you, Aruna.
Yeah, like Ramya and Shabnam said, it's always the children who, they are the reason why you sort of, because you sort of somehow connect to those little souls, those little innocent minds. That apart, there would be teachers who would say it's because of the passion for learning, or because teaching makes a difference in someone's life, or it could also be because you're inspired by some teacher yourself. In my case, it was a combination of all of these: love for children, passion for learning, and also I was lucky to have great teachers who inspired me, and who I adored. So my first choice was to get into the services, and it takes a long time to prepare for services. So in the meantime, I said, let me give a try. After my masters, I said, let me give a try to teaching, and started teaching while I was also preparing for my services. But I somehow stuck there because, like Ramya very rightly put it, you get back many-fold. What you sow, you get back much more than what you give. So I haven't. It's been almost 26 years in teaching, and I haven't regretted. Though teaching in India and teaching in Australia is so different, I still haven't regretted. So that's where I found my place.
Um, that's nice to know the different perspectives. And, like Ramya and Shabnam, of course, from different backgrounds and coming to teaching, and Aruna with 26 years, more than 2 decades of teaching. Kala, I think we should explore more.
Yes. And from saying that, from saying that be quiet and remain in the class to now changing to unmute and come on the camera, there has been a lot of changes, what pandemic has actually brought. We would like to know from y'all that how has it been for y'all in your, in a teaching career or in the education field that you have been following? What are the changes that y'all actually had to make during these last 2 years? Maybe we'll start with Shabnam and then we'll go with Ramya and then we'll go with Aruna.
Okay, see, earlier when in physical classes, it is easy to, because you see the kids, okay, and it is definitely that's what we have been doing for so many years now, teaching face to face. Now, and the pandemic did not give us time. It did not give us a head up. Okay, everyone was caught unaware, probably on the wrong foot. Parents, students, teachers, and as as someone who was teaching the teachers and also taking care of the students simultaneously, it has been very, very interesting time actually, because we realized that we were not competing against now each of the child, every single child, you can say had ADHD. Okay, they were not attentive anymore because they had 1,000 tabs open in their laptop, where the games were calling them, the Facebook was calling them. I was teaching senior classes, class 12 actually, so for them there were even more options. Why would they listen to you? So I guess first challenge was um, not losing their interest. That was the first thing, and so we started exploring, and now even the online teaching is such. Now it is being heralded as one of personalized teaching. Now it is way better. It is even sometimes better than classroom teaching. So schools are going for blended learning. They are teaching you face to face. They are still giving you options where you can learn online. But the transition was painstaking, and I know my teachers were working 12, 13 hours on the laptop trying to teach themselves and make videos and then teach the kids. So but then the learning was fabulous, let me tell you, for all of us, students and even parents and teachers. Yeah.
Very
Yes,
true.
Ramya?
Yes, Ramya.
So Shabnam very beautifully highlighted what is it to go online and teach, what is the differences, teacher, students. The other aspect also was most of the teachers were teaching from home, right? So they were no longer going to school, and work and life was no longer separate. So there were no clear boundaries. You couldn't get onto a bus, go and then come back home. So one of the funny things that happened to me at what happens at my house is I have a particular white jacket. I wear that jacket whenever I'm getting into an important call or when I don't want to be disturbed, basically. So whenever that jacket comes out, like the coat, whenever it comes out, my family is like, "Oh my god!" and they literally run away, so as though they've seen a ghost. But I mean, that's kind of like a joke. But then what that is an example of an indirect cue for people in your household to let them know that I cannot be disturbed. I don't want to be disturbed. At this particular time. So it's an example of how you can clearly draw the boundaries in your households, loud and clear, and also communicate with members in your family. A lot of our teachers are staying nuclear families, joint families, with in-laws, etc. So it's very important that you communicate clearly when you're available, when you're not, and children being at home with children also being at home. you need a good routine for your child and for yourself, of course, but a routine that you and your child agree upon and it works. Because a child without a routine, a child with a routine brings a lot of sanity to a household, right? So, clear boundaries, clear communication, a good routine that works for all of us. So that really was the major learning, and that's what we recommend to all our staff also.
And we see that you've not come with your white jacket today.
Yeah. So my
Yeah.
daughter was making so much fun. I said, okay, I'm not going to wear the jacket today.
So yes, next we're waiting for
Yeah.
you, Haruna.
Yeah, the biggest problem is we had was we just started with all enthusiasm in 2020. Started all the classes and things like that, and we just heard about COVID happening in China, and we had usually a lot of students come in, fly into the country. As you would know, that Australian universities are basically supported by Chinese international students and Indian students, of course. So a lot of students were flying in to start the new course, the new semester. And then we got couple of cases of COVID being reported, and we were still staggering. We were just spectators to something called a virus, something called coronavirus. So the spectator mode immediately changed to shut down a lockdown. We first did a lockdown for 1 week, and that was just sufficient enough for us to transition into online learning. We didn't have much of technological challenges basically in the beginning, because we didn't know the magnitude of the issues that we're going to face at that particular point in time, because we were already on a blended learning system, and in University of Newcastle we had what is known as a flip education system, whereby we don't lecture first. We allow the students access to material. It could be via videos, or it could be just material stuff that they've got to read and do an assessment. And only when they finish the assessment can they come to class, and then they will do a test. First you have a test, and then you have explanation. So it's all flipped. So we were into sort of a blended online learning, sort of a system already in place. All we had to do was just make arrangements, or and realign the classes in such a way that the students will have access to us giving instructions. So that was the only thing initially, but later on, and it was quite novel at that particular point in time, because we were lecturing. It was we had to work from home. We didn't have to travel to the uni, and it was quite exciting for all of us, for the students as well as the teachers. But later on, as the lockdown extended, it went on for 2 months, and it prolonged up to 6 months. We really started feeling the pinch. We were really fatigued. The first problem was the communication had to be. We learned that communication had to be improved. It was very different to virtual versus it had to be succinct. We had to. The first issue that we had to face was to get the student to commit. Initially, it was all right, but the student's interest was beaming out. And so it was getting a bit challenging trying to engage students. And that too, we are not talking of little ones, we are talking of mature students. You can't ask them to come on, clean up your act. So the only challenges that we were facing at that particular point in time is engaging the student, and giving them some kind of a control, so that they are not frustrated. They are not, because there's a lot of uncertainty as to when we are going to open up. So we were also getting a lot of training to give control to the student themselves and make it more personalized learning.
Sure.
So that was the biggest challenge we faced.
Yeah. Yes, Rani, we can continue. Rani, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. No, given to understand that the changes has, really driven you guys to explore more opportunities, new ways, new teaching methods, would also like to understand what was the biggest challenge. Like most of the time we hear it is online, offline, it is online classes, and conducting a class within four walls is entirely different. The rapport is different when compared to online sessions. Give also to know that there are a lot of activities involved. So what were the challenges and how you guys were able to take it forward? We'll start with Ramya.
So the challenges was like Aruna was and Shapun, both of them highlighted that it was keeping the attention of the children intact. So that was the first year when online we were trying something new. That was definitely a big challenge. So we tried to put out a lot of activity kits. We sent them home so that it becomes a time for hands-on learning. And for older children, we try to have time for them when they can just chit chat with each other, because in a normal school, memories or relationships are made not around textbooks or academics, etc. Right? So it's really the time when they chit chat during lunch or corridor conversations. So we tried to kind of do all of those things in different programs. Some of them worked, some of them didn't work. But those were the challenges. Of course, the first year, that is last year, 2020, financially managing the school was also a big challenge. Making sure that the quality doesn't come down, though there were fee restrictions and all of those. But the second year, I feel challenges are much different because now teachers have learned to an extent how
I think there has been some.
to low. It's a personal observation that I've had. Because Zoom fatigue is very real, and I feel it's more pronounced in teachers because teachers have to have their videos on all the time. It's not in corporate jobs, you can have meetings without your videos and you can just stretch on your chair and relax a bit. Teachers don't get to do that. So Zoom fatigue is more pronounced, I feel. And you ask a teacher to take 5 classes at a stretch physically with the children in the classroom, they'll do it. But the same 5 classes online is far more taxing because you also feel that somebody is constantly watching you. So that coupled with all the complications of COVID, a lot of them have lost loved ones in their families, the fear of COVID, depression, not being able to go out, all of that, right? So even among students as well as among teachers, I think mental health, social, emotional well-being is definitely a challenge this year that we're trying to cope.
Rani, you're on mute.
Thank you, Ramya. Yeah, moving to Shabnam and then Aruna.
The first, of course, as I told you already, that training teachers or teachers, those who were not very comfortable. I am teaching here and running a school here in Bihar. Their training teachers suddenly for all going all online was definitely one of the biggest challenges. Another one was parents hovering around on kids, especially for school children. The parents are always, sorry, always there in the background. And sorry, Aruna, can you please take? I'll
Yeah,
just.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, sure.
So the biggest challenge that we had, once the intensity of the problem was aggravating, was thinking about what education really means to the students as such. Like Ramya very rightly pointed out, a student or a graduate success doesn't revolve around just the academic achievements. It also revolves around the teacher student relationship. It revolves around the peers connection, how they connect to the environment, how they connect to the entire setup at school also. So when you're talking about the success of a graduate, you're talking in terms of three things basically: how they are taught, how they are mentored, and what they experience. So it focuses on one, what they gain in terms of the academic excellence, what they gain in terms of the psychosocial skills, and the tacit knowledge, and how are they supported by their mentors, basically their teachers and the counselors and various other support systems at the university. So the biggest challenge we had was to make every student feel important. So um, the teachers directly in a classroom setting, we rely on the direct feedback and more so with the non-verbal cues that we get from the students. And it's not just one student; it is a whole the entire class. So that is lost. That is lost in the virtual learning, basically because as much as it is mandatory for every student to have their videos on, but these students being adolescents wouldn't want to, and we also don't want to sort of impose it on them. We just leave it to their comfort, whether they put their videos on or not. So most of them have their videos off, and that itself cuts us off from the student. The relationship itself is cut off. So we have a big challenge in making the student feel as important as any other student. So we basically need to connect with them, and how we connect is through communication. And the communication is not through the physical exchange of cues. It could be a nod, it could be a thumbs up, and all these students can do it in their own, like if it is in a classroom, they can do it in their own small comfort zone. Whereas when they are on a virtual setup, they're very conscious. They don't want to be noticed, they don't want to be pointed out at, because they know that the entire class is watching them. So we need to communicate, and if the communication is effective, then they will be able to succeed. And the other issue that we had is because of the other media, and also what's happening in the community, the fear was making it difficult for them to thrive. And that had to be supported by the teaching community in some way or the other. So create a learning environment. So that was a very big challenge that we had. And the other fact was not almost around a lot of around 75% of the students who were, either it could be international students or it could be students from the underprivileged background, did not have access to internet. The equipment as such, I mean, of course they didn't have laptops, and the government supported them, the government gave them laptops. But internet was a big concern, because some of the students, they came to the university or the library, they sat there to get access to internet, and now they are thrown unawares, needing an internet. So that was quite worrisome thing, and it was a big challenge for us, especially with online learning.
Now, Shabnam, you can
Yeah.
continue.
Okay. Yeah. As I was saying that parents, Aruna very rightly said that students learn when they are in their comfort zone. There are so many, it was a sudden paradigm shift that no one was expected. And school is for a student, especially for an adolescent or a school student, school is a place where they mingle, where they live, and trust me, and we have always already been through that phase, that there is this age where no one in your family matters to you as much as your friends do. Okay.
Very
So
true.
if you are told to stay at home, you don't like it, you want to go to school. and now it hugely impacted the psychology of the students. They don't want to be hearing comparison with other students, and now the problem is the parent is watching their kids attending a class, and after the class the kids would tell me that this is what is happening. They are being compared. He was writing, you were not. Okay, ma'am, made you understand this topic so nicely. What is there not to understand? So now this is a encroachment on their privacy that they were not able to deal with. Yeah, they are not used to. That is why they were not able to deal with it. Okay, so and that distance them from learning and the teacher as well. Okay? And when you are not feeling the connection, as Aruna very rightly pointed out, that when you are not feeling the connection with the teacher, learning cannot happen. We all love the subject for which we love the teacher. You know, so if we are
Very.
not comfortable with the teacher, we are not learning anything. Then there are games, there are social media waiting on other tabs. So you feel like going back there. There are parents hovering around. Kids had the toughest time. We keep on cribbing. We elders, adults, we keep on cribbing. This has been a very tough time for us. I feel kids, students really had a tougher time than us adjusting, and they are not of the age, or they don't have that emotional maturity yet to cope up with so many facets at the same go. Handling being at home, not being able to go out, not being able to, parents were objecting to them chatting with friends. The whole day you are on laptop, again you have to chat with your friends. Okay, so that is again, parents were not agreeing to that. Then, yes, underprivileged children had their own share of problems. There were many students who went to their, villages and grandmother's place or somewhere to remote places and got stuck there, because initially, yes, we did not understand the magnitude of it, and we thought it's a lockdown. Okay,
The
let's
short term,
take,
as a
yeah,
short term thing. Yeah.
let's travel, let's take a chance and let's travel. They went there and got stuck, and then they were not able to get online. There was net connectivity issues, and so I feel the we did have challenges and we overcame it pretty quickly, because we had our mentors, our principals, our trainers to help us with. The rest of the things were going as it is.
Very
Kids,
sad. Very
they
true.
had a tougher time.
Very true.
Students, they had to, their transition was far rough than
Yeah, it
us.
is. It was the same even for the people who are working in the corporates. The transition was really tough for all of us. But at the same time, I'm sure, like during your tenure, in this tenure that you have been in the education field, there must have been that one moment, or there would have been an incident which you're really very proud of, or which you can keep relating to sometime or the other. So, what is it that you can just tell? Maybe a little bit of a short, just tell us that one incident that you all are really proud of and you'd like to share it with us. This time we'll start with Aruna, we'll go to Shabnam, and then to Ramya.
Yeah, just on a hubris note, Shonda Rhimes, who was the executive producer of The Grey Anatomy, tweeted about teachers, and she said, "I'm homeschooling a 8-year-old and a 6-year-old for 1 hour and 11 minutes. So teachers deserve to make around $1 million a year," and she said, "A week maybe." So maybe that really made me proud. But no, I mean, there are a lot of things, incidents that have made me feel satisfied. But I think what has gone through what has gone through in the world around, COVID has really humbled me, especially. And I feel if I have done my job well as a teacher and have reached at least one student the credit should go to each and every one who has worked along with me in an institution to run the show, and more so to the working community and also to the frontline workers. So I wouldn't take any credit at all for anything that I've done in this during this COVID time.
Shabnam, what about you? I mean, it's not only during the COVID time; it could be during the full tenure of your journey as in the education field.
Yeah, there are so many, you know, but two things I will be very close to my heart is a 7-year-old, long time back, a 7-year-old taught me, and which is something I always teach my teachers as a trainer. You know, never underestimate the kids. That is my golden rule. Never ever. You don't know how much they understand. They understand way more than you think they do. So flipped classroom, is a great tool when you let them know that you trust them and they can trust themselves. It's not that it has to be hand holding. And it all happened in a very funny incident I'd like to share with you. Is I was doing we had some extra time in, it was a long time back, almost 11 years now, and my first stint as the mother teacher of class 2, and we had some extra time in hand. I just said that okay, fine, we'll do a quiz. And I was impromptu making some quizzes and giving them options and asking them which option was correct. And now this 7-year-old comes up to me. I don't know if he's here or listening to me. Mr. Raman Gupta. He must be in 12th now. And he comes up to me and tells me, "Ma'am, you're giving out the answers." I was like, "How? I'm not giving out the answers. I'm giving you options. See, what did you ask just now? When you give the answer, you don't take time to give the option. Like if I'm asking you which organ is the size of your fist, okay, and the options I'm giving like liver, heart, pancreas. See, before saying heart, you did not take time. That's the answer. Okay, you're giving out the answer. This was my biggest takeaway in my entire teaching career, that you are being watched more closely than you can ever imagine. So be responsible. Your every action has an impact on someone, especially when you are in school teaching. And in COVID, I am, again, I'm very, very proud of my students, who, again, I cannot take the credit of it, but I always say that if you cannot take care of the society, if you cannot give back to the society, then your education is a waste. Okay, you are in class 11th and 12th now, and still you have not done anything to give back to the society. In this times of COVID, many of my students, some of them found themselves, they found a passion. They were just not doing anything to being a very great musician, creating music, creating artwork, teaching students, teaching underprivileged students. They all took up all these causes. Okay, even just going around and feeding street kids to street dogs. I'm proud of them. Is they are at least doing something, and not really wasting this time out. That's something I'm very proud of as a teacher. I have been
Really
able
nice.
to. Yeah.
You just reminded me of KBC, where the participant looks at Amitabh Bachchan as to what could be the answer. Yeah. Yes, Ramya, your perspective.
Yeah. So it's not really a moment of pride, but a special moment for me that I would like to share. Because with online learning, it's the most difficult for the kindergarten children because, most of them are coming into school newly. So you really don't know, whether they would sit in front of the screen, attention spans are small, all of that, right? Right. So we had one child who's now in UKG, and they joined in grade in LKG. So 1 year, the child has only gone through online. So my first interaction with the child was in when the child was getting admission into LKG, and he wouldn't open up to me at all. Right, he wouldn't speak to me at all. And early this year, when the child had moved on to UKG, I was in school, and the parent, together with the child, had come to pick up books or something of that sort. And that child came running to me, calling out Ramya ma'am, And I was completely stunned by the fact that the child who refused to speak to me before that, as it is at a stage where he first of all identifies me with a mask, and then he also wants to talk to me. And it was very special because what I realized is while online learning doesn't work for a lot of children, it also works for certain children. It's kind of children who are a bit shy, who get very distracted in class by what their friends are doing, etc. But some children, having the teacher on a full screen and looks as though the teacher is talking only to them, only to that child, it really works. It opens up the child, etc. Right. So I was really happy about the fact that the child, we've built that relationship with the child, even though he's never really stepped into the school. Though everything, his whole education at that point had been online. And so it was a moment of, okay, something is working out, even though it's online. That feeling was something really special.
It's going quite intense, and we're getting to know more and more details. Now, moving on to the next concern, like how concerned are you about the students' academic growth? Like when you are interacting with them face to face or in a classroom, very conservative method, you still build the rapport. You're able to identify the child's strength, weaknesses, or whether it's followed, not followed. I'm sure like these kind of experiences are there, but with an online thing, how does this work, and how concerned are you about the academic growth? We'll start with Shabnam.
Okay. See, this can go on absolutely seamlessly, but but for one single hitch, that is the network. I mean, your Wi-Fi network, or otherwise, in fact, Google has so many apps. It can make education, especially for school children. I'm talking about the school children. You can actually the multidisciplinary approach, wherein you in the same classroom you cater to students with different types of learning abilities. Okay, this can be done beautifully online. That is not possible offline, actually. You can at the same time, yes, the teacher has to work overtime, of course, and you have to create more assessments or more teaching lesson plans. The same topic, you can create at least three types of teaching for that, and then it becomes easier. But as I said, it all depends on where your student is and how good is their network. Otherwise, yes, it becomes, if they are not tech savvy, if their parents are not tech savvy, then yes, they have, and mostly what happens is for in India, private schools or students from the cities do still are on, they are the privileged ones, those who can continue their learning, and the learning is becoming customized for them. The teachers are teaching and assessing the way they learn. But for yeah, for students who are in villages and remote areas, it is really really worrisome that they are the bigger chunk, they form the bigger chunk. And yes, they have lost a huge amount of learning. Plus learning, it doesn't matter when they come back to, on whichever date they come back to school, they will start pick up from where they left. That is, I mean, that kids have it in them. You just have to have that faith. But there would be no learning loss as such. But this conditioning, the willingness to learn, or willingness to pick up, go back and pick up from where they have left, this conditioning is going to take time. And our teachers are not equipped. We don't take teaching so seriously, maybe because, especially in government schools and all, they have this syllabus to complete, so they are running after that syllabus to be completed. Even if we do understand, we don't have time to give the conditioning time to the child, and then bring them back to the learning. Yeah, we don't have time for them to be given the playway method, or create different learning strategies for each child. It's the problem with the teachers. Otherwise, trust me, students are ready anytime you call them.
Moving to you, Ramya, being in the management front, for you, it's a twofold. One side is the teachers, and the other side, the student academic growth. So, how does this work for you?
Yeah, so just adding on to what Shabnam has mentioned, children are at different levels and they are supposed to be, pandemic or not, right? It's our school system is structured so that a child moves from grade one, grade two. In grade one, you learn two-digit addition. In grade two, you learn. So it's like kind of we have structured the schools that way, but then the children will be at different levels. That's their natural tendency to be at different levels, right? So one of the most important aspects of concern right now, which is more pronounced again during the pandemic, is that if a child um if the child's social emotional needs are taken care of, the academic needs will automatically be taken care of. Right. So, what do you mean by social emotional needs? The child has to basically feel, if it's online, they have to feel mentally safe to be in the classroom. That is, they should feel okay to not know what their peer, their friend knows, and it's okay to tell the teacher, "I don't understand, I didn't get it." If it's going to be, now that schools are opening, if it's going to be physical, then feeling physically safe, mentally safe in the classroom. And same thing applies to families. And that has been quite a challenge for us, because somewhere parents also have to understand that children will be at different levels, right? Expecting your child to do the same thing that you did when you were a child, or what your neighbor's kid is doing, doesn't work anymore, right? So parents also have to understand that the child has social emotional needs. They will go at their own pace, and that is the best for them, right? Being valued as a learner, every child, by the parent, by the school, by the teacher, everything is important. Once the child feels safe and valued for their learning needs, then academic progress will come automatically, right? And the child will take care of it. So we just got to trust the child, and it includes the parents also, it includes the family also.
Yeah,
It's
so well
very
said on the socio, and you know how it contributes to the economic growth, academic growth of the child. Aruna, your insights, please.
Yeah, it's very interesting that both Shabnam and Ramya feel that the students are ready to embark on learning from the point where they stopped. It's very interesting because our educational departments are constantly reviewing the progress, because we are also focused a lot on the psychological needs of children, because we do understand that children, there are a lot of children who have lot of difficulties at home, and school, they come to school only to escape from such disturbances. And we are also aware that the kids need to be provided with that psychological support, though it is very difficult, though we don't have that personal touch with them. And they keep on conducting research. So last year in 2020, there was one particular state which conducted a research on how students were faring, because in Australia, what's happening is we're having lockdowns, and when the numbers come down, then we are opening up to schools. So we try opening up teaching face to face. Then if the numbers increase, we again withdrawing the face to face learning. So when the students, they did a research, and the educational department found that that the mathematics and reading skills or the learning skills of the students hadn't dropped with online learning or even with disrupted learning. So they were so apt, and they were very quick. They basically, children were very resilient. And later on, they did another study in another state, and they found out, the department found out that the students were not up to a certain standard that was set by the department. So very quickly, they ramped up all the retired staff, and had some kind of a crash course in mathematics to bring up the students to their level. So what it basically means is that the true research is that academically we don't have a problem. We perceive that kids are struggling, but they're not struggling academically. What's more worrying is that they have been isolated. They've been isolated from their peers, they've been isolated from the teachers, they've been isolated from a whole gambit of social connections, social support systems. And that isolation is what is creating anxiety. That fear of uncertainty. We are not sure what's going to happen. That uncertainty is creating anxiety. That sort of isolation is creating a lot of depression. And we have seen that the number of presentations at the clinical on the clinical front, the number of depression or the number of children who are having issues with behavior patterns is increasing. So we are not really worried about the academics. We have to worry about the other aspect, which is a social psychological aspect of the development of the child.
True. When you do something year on year continuously for some time, you just become an expert. We have a question from one of our viewer, Shreya Bajaj. She's asking that, I'm sure that you would have had to unlearn some skills and learn some skills to become relevant in today's day of teaching. So what was it that you all had to actually unlearn and, learn some new skills to be relevant? I'll start with Ramya, then we'll go to Aruna, and then we'll go to Shah.
Yeah, so a lot of skills, basically from technology, making a PPT, different apps that are available out there. So many things that we had to do, teachers had to do, had to be trained, etc. But for me, I think the one skill that, like you said, teachers were being students during the last 1.5 years. They've unlearned what they knew for many years as to how to teach, how to reach children, and they've learned to do it in a completely different way. In a classroom, if you go and ask in a physical classroom, children, have you got it? And everybody would respond. But in online, you can't do that, because the moment you ask, have you gotten it, like 20 mics will go on, and and then it's very difficult to again calm down the class and reduce the noise level. So it's a change at a very basic level as how to communicate with the child, right, with the classroom. So the skill that I felt that teachers have demonstrated all over the world is being a student, being a learner, right? And they demonstrated growth mindset, right? And that is the biggest skill that all of us in the education field and in different businesses also the same thing applies, right? So that is the biggest skill, and that's a learning not just for the professional life but also for personal life also. So growth mindset.
Yeah,
and
very
personal.
true.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting question. Thank you for that question. It brings me a very funny incident. As a part of the training process, we had to attend some webinars and online courses, and a test was involved. After the course, we had to do a test. Very surprising, because it was just in the beginning stages of online learning. We had to do that test, and that was a part of the program. And how do you make an assessment? How does the teacher make an assessment? So I was a student there, and there was a teacher who had to make the assessment. So she said, you have to sit five. She gave us a distance of where we could sit, how far we could sit away from the desk. And the whole idea was she should be able to see our hands and the table that we are writing on, basically to make sure that we were not copying. That put me, it was an embarrassing or an uncomfortable situation that someone is checking on us. That is exactly, and then I realized this is exactly how the students would be feeling. And so we had to unlearn that particular way of assessment, and we had to reframe our assessments. One was our mode of instruction, and the next was also we had to reformat the assessments, how we assessed the children, not to make them feel uncomfortable or to doubt them. Of course, there is a problem there when you're assessing the child doing an exam. It's a valid requirement that the teacher needs to know that you're not cheating. But at the same time, how does a child feel when you say I don't trust? No, that incident, though it is funny, brought out the something that you learn, you unlearn in order to go on to a different mode of
Yeah.
teaching.
What about you, Shabnam?
I won't say I unlearned anything. I evolved, I updated myself, but unlearning as such, no. But I learned a lot of things that this won't work. This won't work this way. That is true. And the learning is still there. We will need our chalk and talk later on. So I'm keeping that in reserve. But technologically, yes, we learned a lot of apps. Especially, we learned to use. I never knew that there are 51 apps in only in Google that to help teachers. You can snap up a hand, fingers. You can create assessments, you can create games, you can create quizzes, and as I told you, multidisciplinary approach of teaching. But the mostly something that I have learned is yes to communicate, as Ramya said, to communicate with my students more effectively and to read their backgrounds. When you see just a head on your computer screen, and there is no other way. Otherwise, what happens when the child is in your class and someone is not performing, and you see a definite emotional change in a particular child for a extended period of time, and this child was not like this earlier. Okay, so you get alarmed, you try to understand why is this happening, you just try to offer help. Now here, when Ramya was saying that if you ask, did you get that, and all the mics will go on. For senior students, what happened? All the mics will go off. Okay, the moment you ask a questions, everyone suddenly
They'll have a
starts
network
calling.
issue.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah,
also
they
have
have
a
network
network
issues.
issue.
Yes. Their video is not. You cannot see them. You cannot hear them. So that handling that challenge, and it helped me a lot. I learned to keep my eyes open for the background. It tells a lot about the performance of the child. It teaches you to make tailor make the assessments. You have the tools, but which one to choose for which child, and which child you need to just a message. And on a lighter note, I learned how to use memes. Okay, that. So adolescents in groups, They would teach you. They are the being masters, and they have everything. In fact,
Internet hai, Maya.
Yeah, no, no, it's on. I don't
That's a
know.
real internet issue,
No, no.
not a question one.
Yeah, it's fine. We're on. I think Shabnam has gone off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shabnam.
Maybe Rani can ask the next question. Yeah. By the time we
Yeah,
wait for Shabnam to come. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, this is from our president Shikha Gupta. Did any one of you think of taking up an alternate career due to so many challenges in online teaching?
Maybe we can have a very short answers because I think so we're almost coming to the end.
Yeah, I would take that question
I'm
first.
sorry. Yes, sorry.
It's
That's
okay.
okay.
It's okay. Yeah, I don't know. I can
I'd like
continue.
to take that question. I did want to change my career, not because of the challenges of teaching, but I thought the need of the hour was more to reach out to people because people-related issues were cropping up, and we had the luxury of moving on to something else or something like social work. Yeah.
Okay, that was quite
Yes.
interesting from white blackboard, white chalk to online network issues. All this, I think we've really explored, and you guys have made it very interesting and given us insights. Yes, Kala.
Yeah, Ramya, you were working as a software in the software company before, right? And then you made this change. Any particular reason for making this change, or what made you want to change?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I'll try to keep it short. Uh, People who had known me from school would never, I kind of started coding at the age of 13, when my father brought home a computer. So, very clearly, from a very young age, I wanted to do computer science engineering. And I got into College of Engineering, Gindi, which was a premier institute in Tamil Nadu. Upon graduating, I got into IBM as part of their software labs. And, it's very different from software services because there's a lot of focus on patents, research. You get to tinker with new technology, productize it, all of those, right? I really like that. And it was a very exciting journey. I was, in fact, thriving at my career. After 10 years of it, I had 4 patents to my name, 2 red books. I was an established member of the architect team, and one of the ideas that we had bootstrapped in the India labs was kind of taking off very well for IBM overall. I was thriving literally, but then I was at the prime, I would say, when I put on my papers, and people, my colleagues who didn't know me that well, were like, "Are you mad? Are you being poached by your competitor, or why are you just throwing it all away?" And but what happened in those 10 years was I had really realized what drives me, what gets me excited, and it was basically I like to see my ideas come alive, right? And even the high points in my IBM career were those ideas that I worked upon, which I was very proud of, which took off, right? I like to see my ideas come alive and see the impact on others around me. And I also realized I had a lot of ideas. So once I realized that, I wanted to do more of it. It was simply that. Once I got that clarity, there was no looking back. After 20 years of being with computers, I realized that what excited me had nothing to do with computers. I was just using programming as a way, designing as a way to again fulfill my ideas. So that clarity basically was what changed a lot of things for me. And my parents are also from the education field, and they were going. A lot of changes were happening for them in the professional side. So yeah, a lot of changes there. So together is when we started to our school Spring Days in 2017 and Continent Leaders again in 2017. So the lessons, the transition was really hard. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that I was successful. No, the first 2 years was complete chaos. My health took a toll. My daughter suffered. My husband had to put up with a lot. We had to do a lot of adjustments as a family to accommodate the new thing that I was doing, right? But I think it was a lot of learning, and that journey has brought us to where we are now, where my ideas of how a new age education is slowly shaping up. It's been the 5th year now. It's slowly shaping up how to have a school which is child-centered, how to have a culture among teachers which is about trust and respect, how to focus on EQ as well as IQ for a child, different things, right? So now I'm at a good place. And but actually, my biggest learning out of the whole thing has been that skills are actually transferable across domains, across industries, right? Yes, I have 4 degrees, two for my first career, two for my second career. So you need to pick up that domain knowledge. BA and B.Ed I did recently, so that I have that domain knowledge in my new career. But the skills are transferable, right? Your the way you approach a problem, your critical thinking skills, everything is transferable. It's just the mindset that yes, I need to do it, and I will face the challenges. So that has been my journey and my lessons.
You remind me of Amir Khan from Three Idiots, from patents to teaching.
Yeah.
Yes,
Knowing
Ram.
specifically about Ramya and Aruna, I would like to move to Shabnam. This is the last question for this session. Shabnam, happy to know that you are a recipient of 3 excellent awards. Would like to know the efforts behind that and little insights on this. Just a quick note.
There have been actually no conscious efforts as such. I just did what I was supposed to. Only thing, probably, I'm very, very passionate about when it comes to students. I don't. Oh, not It's not only teaching them, it's not about only imparting knowledge and or teaching whatever you are supposed to teach. For me it is more important because now I know that students and me, we are invested in each other. I have brought them so far. Okay, now I cannot stop. There's no stopping because it's not me only. There are people who are looking up to you, and at least, and I realized probably I should have taken up teaching long back. And those 11 years in journalism kind of should not have been there, and should have been teaching all along, because I am probably a mother by nature. Okay, so
I think she has
Yeah,
got stuck
our
again.
signal.
And I think we are almost at the end. So anyways, I just it is such an it was really gave us an immense pleasure to talk to you all. And this is one fraternity, that is the people who are from the education field, where everybody, be it small, old, or be it whatever status they are in, always bow down to. And we must say that we are really glad that we were able to host you all. And on behalf of Wiki Karnataka Human Resource Council, we wishing you all the very best. And thank you so, so very much for taking time out, especially Aruna, late night for you, but still accommodating yourself to be part of the show. Thank you so much and wishing you all the very best. And signing out, this is Kana Sadasava and Rani Srinivas.
Yeah, all the very best to all 3 of you. And thank you all for joining this session. Signing off, Rani Srinivas.
Thank you, Rani. Thank you, Kala.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Kala, and all the best to you guys too.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Keep following us.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, thank you.